Okay. You can edit this part out, right?
No.
Fuck. Okay. I'm not ready. I'm just fixing the audio thing at the moment. Okay. Let's get started. Jesus was God's kid. He learned a lot about people, and people learned a lot from Jesus. And one day, everyone thought Jesus had the gay. So the Romans decided to execute Jesus for having the gay. They decided it would be cool if his death was like the movie Passion of the Christ. So they watched the movie at Jordan's Furniture, Jerusalem IMAX Theater, and took plenty of notes. Every time Jesus was nailed to the cross, butt kickers amplified harder. Elliot Tattleman stood upon the podium of his big butt kicker seat at the end of the film and declared this is how Jesus will be killed. And then they told his friend Judas that Jesus stole a pack of Tic Tacs from Jewish Walmart. Judas was then ready to betray Jesus because of that, because Judas's family owned the local Jew mart. Judas then prepared a last supper of sorts to the local Jew fried chicken. And then at this point, we were then reminded that this story takes place 40 years after Christ Ragnarok, when Jesus takes a side quest to the underworld where he converses with the devil. Anyway, back on track. As they munch on the JFC, Jesus took a biscuit and said, "This is my body." He then took a Baja Blast, this was a JFC/Juco Bell, and said, "This is my blood." They then drank the Baja and ate the biscuits. Everyone got food poisoning the following morning. The next day was the day Jesus was to be executed. Elliot awoke from his Tempur-Pedic mattress. He was ready for inhalation. He gathered his armada of Romans and led their fight to the International House of Jew Cakes, IHOJ. Jesus was enjoying his breakfast. They came to confront him. Jesus then uses his force lightning to strike down Elliot and his Roman armada. And then The Rock came crashing into IHOJ with his car from Fast 8. He then takes Jesus and runs off with him. He explains the current situation that is at hand, and that Judas was betraying him. Jesus now knew the consequences to these actions. Him and The Rock, now accompanied by Shia LaBeouf, are making their way to America, where the first time machine is. And they stop at the roadside pizza parlor for food, Joe's Pizza. Their cashier was a man named Aziz. His chef's name was Peter. Peter recognized Jesus, and then began to realize that they are on the run. He wants to help them. The trio were reluctant at first, then lets him on a secret. He's Spiderman. They then recruit him into the group. They continue their pilgrimage to the land of the free when then they're stopped by the armada of Jordan's Furniture. Elliot demands that Jesus be turned over or else death will be brought to all of them. "Elliot, you can't win this," the Roman warrior said to him. "Then I'll keep trying," he said back. Shia then had an idea. He called upon his most sacred friend, Bumblebee, the Transformer, and then began a perfect distraction for them to escape. They're on the run again. Spider-Man got injured from one of Elliot's henchmen. That henchman was none other than James Franco. Where do these guys come from? The group were then stalked by a rodent who could speak. This rodent, Rocket Raccoon. He was stuck on Earth due to a mishap during a mission with the Guardians of the Galaxy. He was now trying to make his way back into the cosmos. They offered him a trip into the time machine where then he can prevent his mistake in his mission. The crew, now composed of Jesus, The Rock, Shia, Spider-Man, and Rocket Raccoon, are now being tracked by the top men of Jordan's Furniture. What the rest of the world does not know is that Jordan's Furniture is secretly an organization of Nazi super soldiers that was made up by the earliest ancestor of Adolf Hitler. The Romans Elliot had were actually hardcore Nazi super soldiers. Think Captain America but Nazi, and there's a lot of them. Now that Rocket's advanced technology can aid them on their quest, they start making a steadfast water journey to America, where they can use the time machine of Agent Corbin in Alabama, so they can stop the hatred of Jesus and Rocket, and they can make it back to the Guardians of the Galaxy. But what was not known to them was that Elliot was using his super Nazi powers to create a massive storm in Alabama, a Category 5 hurricane that was the perfect storm for the perfect heist. The plan for Jordan's furniture was to steal the money in the big money vault, along with a time machine. More than $600 million were to be stolen at 600 miles per hour. Elliot was also following their tracks on a mission to find the Infinity Stones for Thanos, who was also planning to kill Jesus. Elliot had already collected 3 of the 6 stones. Now they are in Africa, not known to either of the parties, but they were about to enter the nation of Wakanda, where the Black Panther was. Jesus was cool with BP, so he granted them access to the vibranium weaponry that was stored inside of Wakanda. Now decked with sick weapons, they leave on a custom-built Wakandan ship that will bring them to Alabama quicker. Elliot accidentally wanders into Wakanda. He is told by Thanos that the Soul Stone is located in there. He uses his Nazi powers and the Infinity Stones that he currently has to kill everyone, and then locates the Soul Stone and takes it with him. The group is now approaching what was left of Alabama. Time machine, damaged to near no repair due to the hurricane, is now being fixed by the only one who knows how to. That person, the Hoff. He was alerted to the troubles Jesus and company were going through, so he fixed it for no cost. None other than Elliot is stopped, and he tells them the long and boring story of why Elliot is following them. It turns out Jesus is the final Infinity Stone Elliot is looking for. It was inside of him the whole time. This was now an immediate threat to Jesus and company. Elliot was now aware of the location of the group, who had just collected the final Infinity Stone before Jesus. The time machine was fixed, and then Elliot arrived to Alabama. He killed Hoff, and then him and the Rock fought. Rock was beginning to overcome by the Nazi Romans, and then Spiderman saved him from his near-death experience. Shia tried to call upon Bumblebee again, but it turns out that Elliot used his Nazi mind control powers to turn him into a Nazi transformer. He even had a tiny Hitler mustache. He began to attack Shia. Shia was killed by his own best friend turned enemy in a matter of seconds. Spidey, having his nerd side kick in, was able to finish fixing the time machine. They hop in. They begin traveling to where Rocket was separated from the Guardians. But Elliot had the Time Stone and the Reality Stone. He was fully able to bend time and reality at his will. As Thanos lent him the gauntlet to keep the stones safe, he is now fully able to follow them through time. Elliot arrives at the planet Jesus and company and the Guardians are on. He then has a fight with Star-Lord and Drax. Unable to defeat him, Groot is used and help them in the fight. Once they are able to keep Elliot off their trail only for a few moments, Jesus and company alert the Guardians of the impending doom on the world. They are now at their aid and on their team, the Christ Vengers. This name was suggested by The Rock. No one fucking liked it for obvious reasons. They settled on Christ Defenders, then Groot didn't like it. So then they finally come to the conclusion of the Jesus Avengers. They liked that one. They were now traveling the cosmos to find Thanos, and Elliot was hot on their trail once again. They make their way to the planet Titan, the homeworld of Thanos. Thanos is awaiting the arrival of the Jesus Avengers. An epic brawl begins. Since he doesn't have any Infinity Stones, he gets his ass eaten inside out. And then Elliot arrives on Titan with 5 of the 6 Infinity Stones. Then Judas arrives, who is one of Elliot's henchmen, accompanied by both of them, James Franco. It was James Franco, Elliot, Thanos, and Judas versus the Jesus Avengers now. Elliot is now reluctant on giving Thanos the gauntlet. He then betrays Thanos, killing him instantly. It turns out, not only was Elliot a super Nazi soldier, furniture store owner, but he was Satan, the one Jesus fought during Christ Ragnarok. But he was then in a different form. Spider-Man and James Franco begin to fight, while the rest of the Jesus Avengers fight Elliot and Judas. Judas was given super Nazi strength and was able to provide an intense battle for the JAs. They were not able to fully kill the Guardians due to Star-Lord being a Celestial with his powers. This happened before Ego died. Star-Lord is then able to take the gauntlet from Elliot and able to have a fighting chance, but without the final Infinity Stone, they don't stand a chance. Jesus then stands, mesmerized. The whole day was a big journey around the world and the cosmos. He had traveled to Wakanda, survived the hurricane heist, went through time and the cosmos, and is now here being ambushed by Elliot Tattleman and his then disciple. He was now aware of what he had to do. There was no need to go back in time to fix the unjust hatred of Jesus. He had to prove himself in that moment, to show he was willing to sacrifice everything to save the ones around him. While his inner monologue was happening, everyone had died besides Spider-Man. Pretty fucking awkward, I know. Spider-Man, now struggling, had just entered Elliot to the point where he can't attack anymore. The gauntlet now out of reach to him. It was now a race against Judas and Spider-Man to acquire the gauntlet and finish them, but there was no way they could finish without Jesus' Infinity Stone. He then goes in between the both of them while they're about to have their final duel. He gets in the middle of the battle. He's instantly injured, dies on the spot. The final stone appears on the ground. Spider-Man picks it up with the gauntlet, puts it in, kills Judas. Pizza time, fucker! Spider-Man is now the god of the universe, besides God, of course. He is now able to fully restore the world to what it once was before this amazing brawl. He does so, reversing everything that had just happened. He's the only one who remains aware of what happened. He's back to making and serving pizzas for Aziz, stunned and broken from what had just witnessed. Jesus sacrificing himself for the greater good. He never knows if he'll be seen again. Things go back to when Jesus was hated. Elliot Tattleman is no longer the supreme leader of Jerusalem. The Nazi super soldier program never happened. He was hung by the Romans as the lame Bible told you. What they never told you was the story of what happened before all of it. Spider-Man was fixing up an extra large deep dish pizza to go along with the other 7 he had to deliver. He was to go to Jerusalem, the location where Jesus was buried. He goes to the tomb. The doors are opened by Peter. The casket where his body had shot open. It was Jesus. He remembers his sacrifice and Spider-Man's killing of Judas and Elliot that reversed everything that happened. He thanks him and is given the most holy blessing ever delivered to anyone. It was the blessing of the pizza time. He had eternal pizzas now. Jesus paid for his pizzas and was now enjoying them. He left the tomb to go find some soda. The people of Jerusalem saw that he had left the tomb. Jesus was resurrected from the dead. This is the cornerstone of why people believe in Jesus now. The reason he is now being so praised by all of his followers. All because fucking Spider-Man killed Judas with the Infinity Gauntlet in reverse time so the story we know today could happen. Godspeed, Spider-Man. That's it.